What's up, Dean?
How you doing, Jim?
I'm doing well. Thank you for asking.
Man, we know how to get
Things
ready so fast, don't we? Every week we're beyond ready.
show prep. That's my middle names are show and prep.
Well, we have great producers and great above we have great below the line talent working for us.
That is true. So, what do you think of this hook? Relationship driven hookers win with direct mail.
Relation.
I hyphenated it. It's relationship hyphen driven hookers win with direct mail.
Okay, so here's my thought. It's clever, so we always have to be. And my mind immediately goes when you say hookers. I don't know if you want my mind, it goes to the obvious. It doesn't go to hook.
Fisherman?
So, yeah, driven. The word driven is the word.
Yeah.
Pile
Okay.
drive.
Yeah, well, you're from New Jersey. So,
And everybody knows New Jersey is the hooker state.
it is because you guys have a lot of fishing. It's like the land of 1,000 lakes or whatever.
We have rivers and the Atlantic.
That's true. Now, here's the thing. People say, oh, clever hooks and other stuff like that is not necessarily a good thing. And sometimes it can backfire on you.
Mm-hmm.
But sometimes, if you can come up with one that's clever, that hits, it can change your life.
So here's what I would say. Test it.
That's right. So I'm going to test it in a print newsletter and see if it makes it past the editor. So there you go.
Well, that's part of the market right there. No, it's not. It's just somebody who's going to say, I don't know, but let it run.
If they change it, they change it. Let's see it. Let's see if my Jim Edwards mojo will stand up.
And so this is to get people to read an article. Is that what you're saying?
Yes, in a print newsletter.
Okay.
Of some renown.
Well, I know. And they might appreciate it. They might appreciate it.
My audience might appreciate it. Heck, it might bring back some memories from a live conference. You never know.
Never know.
You never. I don't want to know. So
see, if you were handing this out,
yeah,
at a lovely like a 4-star hotel
in front of a casino, wearing a T-shirt,
going like handing that out, and that's the headline.
Yeah,
and you're going, wow.
Yeah,
I'm in the right place.
Absolutely. I mean this is what happens at the publishing conference stays at the publishing conference.
That's right.
So somebody, I don't know who this is. You got to go check. You got to go click the thingy that lets us see who this is, because somebody says, you are all up in my husband's brain about hooks. He's been schooling me on what Jim says. ROFL. I love it. I'd love to know who posted that.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, what's up, Faith? So what do you want to talk about, Dean? What do you want to talk about? I was talking about stories before. That's my big theme this week is stories.
So if that's the case, I've got something, because as you know, over at the ClickFunnels, as they call it, I am, one of my tasks is the Dan Kennedy account, since ClickFunnels acquired all of his intellectual property and all of those amazing assets. Yeah. And so right now I'm working on, they're breaking up all of this amazing Dan Kennedy content from his seminars and super conferences over the years, and his speeches on
his body of work, as they say.
It's actually a tome of work. It's that big.
Oh my goodness. Okay.
Mm-hmm. So a Bible of work. And you're talking about story. So one of the episodes that's going to be on the podcast, so I'm kind of tipping the hat here, but only the listeners here will know about this when the episode's released, is on Dan Kennedy. They're playing a Dan Kennedy speech at one of the big Peter Lowe Stadium events, where there's 30,000 people.
Oh, yeah.
Dan always batted cleanup. He was the guy they sent out there last when the people are leaving and they've already seen General Schwarzkopf or Colin Powell or some big celebrity, Donald Trump, whoever it was.
Yeah.
And he was the one to
The guy
say,
who got paid 50,000, then they bring in Dan
That's
to make
right.
the money to pay the guy to talk for 50,000 bucks.
And they couldn't understand how Dan was making 10, $1 million at one of these things. And the keynote speakers are getting paid 75 grand.
Right.
So I am reading a transcript
Mhm.
of one of Dan's talks at this Peter Lowe event. And I read
Ooh.
the first 2 sentences and I went, holy mackerel.
Yeah.
I'm going, this guy is a genius because just look at the job this guy, the audience, 30,000 people have just seen a Colin Powell or a General Schwarzkopf or a world leader, General Gorbachev, I think, it was amazing who they would have at these speakers. They would have a stockbroker, somebody famous from Wall Street. But Dan going at the end where these people have sat through 90 minutes, 2 hours of speeches or more. Dan's always going last.
But the majority of those people also have left. Dan doesn't have 30,000 people sitting in the stands. He's got 5 or 6.
So, right. So he has got to, and I just read, just the first 2 sentences of what he says when he comes out, I'm picturing my mind, people get, they're getting out of the aisle and then they're walking up the stadium stairs to go into the concession so they could take the escalator out of the stadium. They're stopping on their way up those stairs or just about to go into the, turning around going, what, wait. And then coming back, or they're just standing there listening, coming back down the stairs and going back to their seat.
You cannot not tell us what those first 2 sentences were.
So
you can't
I'll read it to you. Okay.
Okay. Yeah.
So
please.
this is secret stuff here.
Okay.
So Dan Kennedy is introduced. Who's Dan Kennedy? Who's Dan Kennedy? Yeah. We just saw Colin Powell. We just saw General Schwarzkopf.
Who's this 6'4" guy with the weird mustache?
Who looks like a walrus.
Yeah, he looks like a walrus biker.
All right. These are the first words out of his mouth. Center stage. I'm going to send you out here with specific usable 1, 2, 3 marketing strategies that apply to any product, service, or business or sales career that you will see results in your bank account within 21 days or less. I'm going to give you one complete strategy you can use exactly as I describe it to you at the end of our time together. Isn't that beautiful?
Oh my God. That's awesome.
That you'll be able to go and apply. I can make a virtual certain bet that none of you in here are using it exactly as I will describe it to you, but that most of you can. And again, most of you will be able to see results in your bank account in 21 days or less as a result. So we're going to do some real practical stuff. I am here to make you money.
Dang, not a word wasted there, boy. Read that second sentence again. That was the one when I was just like that. Okay, all right.
And I got to write, I have to write an intro for this and bullets. So this is so exciting for me. Here's the second sentence. I'm going to give you one complete strategy you can use exactly as I describe it to you at the end of our time together that you'll be able to go out and apply. So I think we should let's just look at the first 2 sentences.
Yep.
In the first sentence, Dan Kennedy, and Jim and I talk about this all the time. Dan Kennedy offers a single big idea, a big promise, and a big result. The second sentence, he throws in at the end, he says it's an open loop.
Right.
This is a massive open loop. And he says, I'm going to give you something that's
Right.
going to make you money in 21 days. And that's my promise to you.
At the end.
The end.
And I'm going to give you the complete thing, the whole thing. At
Not
the
only
end.
that, actionable. You can apply it to your business. Most of you aren't doing this right. I'm going to give this to you. I'm going to tell you how to do it. First 2 sentences out of his mouth. And this is coming where you hear all the what they call walla walla and noise, and people are shuffling and moving. And Dan's got command and control because he's got a very powerful microphone. His whole presence is projected on these big jumbotron monitors. And this was back in the 90s, by the way, in the early 2000s, where these Peter Lowe events. Have you ever been to one?
Yeah, I went to one that Peter Lowe was ill and Tony Robbins had taken over for a while as the MC when Peter Lowe, something happened to him.
Yeah.
And Dexter and I went. I actually caught a beach ball.
Oh.
And I kept that beach ball for years, man. They were epic, man. It was crazy.
Yeah. Somebody on Facebook said, yeah, those events were epic. So, and I went to one where I saw Colin Powell speak in a big Wall Street mucky muck. And I can't remember his name now, but he sold a ton of books. And I think he sold a coaching program. But,
and the funny thing is that Brian Tracy was there, and
I saw Brian Tracy. Yeah,
he was an amazing speaker, and all he had to sell was like a $69 8-cassette album thing. That was all he had. That was Brian Tracy's whole thing. That's all he had to sell.
But look at weird. Dan, probably selling $1,000 or a $2,000 product, like Russell did at 10X. Selling the $3,000 program.
So, couple things. I'm going to want you to send me that, since I'm part of that universe too. If you could share that with me, that would be great. Because I love you. Because I want something from you. I love you if I want something from you. If I don't need anything from you, I'm just mean to you. Felicia, we see Felicia. We see your name. So what should we take away from this? My brain's going. I mean, I'm just going.
You started off with the hooker thing. We started off talking about capturing somebody's attention with an incredibly powerful hook.
Yeah.
Now here, the thing is, when we send hooks out into the internetosphere, we can't see the response or the reaction that people are having, right? We can't.
Right.
The only thing we know how to gauge it by is by somebody clicking in an email or opening up an email, because the hook and the subject line is the only thing. So we can look at open rates, and we can look at click rates inside. We can look at the click rate, the click-through rates on an ad. We can look at how many people opted in. This is live. Here, you've got, and this is the most powerful selling tool it is like Dan's doing face-to-face one-to-many. We're doing faceless one-to-many right now on this little on this Facebook Live, on this streaming podcast. But when you're doing it live, you have the emotional interaction and connection with the audience, and you have to come out and just think of anything. I mean, if folks here have been to ClickFunnels, or think at the last live event you've gone to, and then it's getting toward the end where people are tired and they're hungry and they've got full bladders, or they've got to get back to their kids at home. You've got to think, what can I say? What could I possibly say after they've already seen greatness come before me with Schwarzkopf, Colin Powell, Brian Tracy, and now an unknown steps out onto the stage. You got to have something that's going to grab them.
Yeah.
And Dan gets fighted back. He was cleanup at all these events
because he was the one making the money to pay for the chuckleheads that were showing up because they had brand awareness.
And Dan even said in one of these things, Schwarzkopf came up to Dan and said, man, they paid me $75 to get here. And Dan said, that's right. You're like the title card. They're paying you just to be here. I'm the one making the money. I'm making 10 times what you do.
Yeah.
And Schwarzkopf, he said, how do you do that? He said, not many of the people wanted to know how he did it. All they did was would backstab or bad math or go, how does that guy do it? Or how does he, why should he be getting all the money?
Well, think about Schwarzkopf.
I'm speaking here I'm not speaking for a fee.
Right. Well, Schwarzkopf was the tactician, though. He understood there's got to be a strategy here. He wanted to know the strategy.
Yeah.
Because he kind of knew a little bit about strategy. So Felicia just shared something pretty cool. I'm going to rip this off.
Mm-hmm.
She said, I wrote a subject line last week. Don't make me use my mime voice, and got a 49% open rate.
I love that. See, that
that's
makes
awesome.
Me smile.
Yeah, I would open that too.
Yeah.
In fact, I probably did open that.
Uh-huh.
So that's great. I mean, that's amazing. And the hook is, but in order to have a great hook, you got to understand your audience. Yeah, I got to understand where they are right now. What's the conversation going on inside their head right now? And you got to have something in there that's going to stop them and pre-frame them for what's coming next, so that they understand there's something in it for them, and you make it to the next sentence.
Yeah,
that's the big thing.
It's got to be huge. It has to be huge. This is all the fish going out with the tide, and you're throwing out your lure to go, oh man, I got to catch something. What bait do I use? How do I hook these fish that are all moving away from me, that don't even care about me? They don't even know I'm here. They have no idea what my name is.
Right. And that's got to be demoralizing too, just thinking about those stadiums, 30,000 people in there. And then it's the end of the day and everybody's leaving. Even if there's still 6,000 people in there, it looks freaking empty because they're sitting all over the place. And you feel like you're talking to the drunks at the AA meeting, waiting for the next coffee urn to finish doing its thing.
Right. But in Dan's mind, Dan's thinking, so there's only 5,000 people in the audience.
Right.
If I could sell 20% of them, if I could sell 5% of them.
Right. That's 250 people.
Oh, I'm going to walk out of here with $250,000. Right. That's an okay payday for me.
It's an okay day. Right.
Right.
Yeah, there you go. Steve said that Schwarzkopf told Dan he only chose the battles he knew he could win. There you go.
There you go. And Dan knew he could win this battle every single time.
Yeah.
Put in 30,000, I'm left with 5. Those are great odds. And these are people who paid to get into an event. And if they're staying till the end, those are people who want to get as much value out of this event as possible.
Right.
Right. And they're buyers, most likely. They've probably bought stuff from the people before them. What else can I buy? As Dan says, a buyer is a buyer is a buyer.
Yeah. Yeah. And, interestingly enough, if you look at like a Peter Lowe event, as opposed to a webinar or something like that, the people had to get a promotion. They had to buy a ticket, or they had to drive, and then they had to drive to the stadium. They had to find parking. They had to schlep their butt inside. They had to find their seat, because some of those seats were assigned, and they had different levels. Like you could be on the floor, you could be down close to the front, or you could have breakfast with, Tony or whoever. And then the bottom line is, in order for them to get there, they've gone through so many steps. And that's why he said the best customer for him was someone who had bought one of his books, because they had to literally get up out of their chair, go in the car, go down to the bookstore, had to rifle through all the business books, find his book, buy the book, go home, read the book to find the offer to make it to the point where they could opt in. He said by the time they made it to him, they'd gone through so many hoops, he knew that they were serious.
And then there was no Amazon then. They had to
Right.
go to Barnes and Noble or B. Dalton or, you know, or their local bookstore.
Yeah.
No cell phones. So that was a good thing back then. There was no distraction in the
Right.
90s, really. 2000s, more people had cell phones, but you did have less distraction.
You didn't have smartphones.
That's right. You didn't have smartphones, so there wasn't internet. All you could do was call.
Felicia says, my favorite places to speak were first thing in the AM when everyone was bleary-eyed, after lunch when everyone was tired from eating, or end of the day when they thought they wanted to leave. When you're engaging from the get-go, they stay, listen, and buy. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. That's why I used to like it when Armand, like at big seminar, when he'd have me speak, and he usually had me speak either right after lunch or right before dinner, because he knew that I would get the crowd going.
Yeah.
You know, one way or another, I'd get them going.
And when I did stand up, I loved following, like, I liked getting bumped by a major star like Eddie Murphy. And it happened. I got bumped by Eddie Murphy and Robin Williams and Rick Overton and, or follow Brian Regan. And I loved, and people, most comics didn't like it. I loved it because they brought the audience up here. All you had to do was go up, step into the shoes that they left, and just kind of keep it there because the energy was already up. Right. After lunch is different though. I mean, that's or at the end of the day, different story. So it's a different mindset. You're going, I'm going to work this to my advantage.
Yeah.
And all you have to do is you use humor. So using comedy and, or being snarky, and that gets attention. You can't go up there being soft. You can't.
Yeah. Did you ever meet? So you met Robin Williams?
Yeah.
And you talked to him? Was he cool?
Talked to him. Whenever he was in New York and I was working the clubs in New York, he'd come in, hang out at the Improv, or he'd be up at Catch a Rising Star. And I remember Eddie Murphy at the height. I mean, I think he just did Raw, or he was getting ready to do Raw. So he'd come into the comic strip in New York City and work out his stuff. And I had a spot. I had a 9:30 spot, first show on a Saturday night at the comic strip. I'm going, this is fantastic. And you get 15 minutes. So the 9 o'clock, the MC opens, the first act, then the MC comes up, does 5, and then would bring me up. I'm about ready to go up. Eddie Murphy comes. Did I tell you this story before?
You've told me this story. You've not told others this story.
Oh, and Eddie Murphy comes in with his entourage. He's got 3 bodyguards, and he's exuding star, and oh my God. And I'm out, you've got the comedy room, and then you've got the bar, and I'm out in the bar, and Eddie comes in. I'm going, oh, I just got bumped. Eddie goes up and does like 45 minutes and just destroys to a standing room only crowd. Just kills it. And then leaves. His bodyguards surround him, and the crowd, they can't get the crowd. I even remember the MC of that night. It was David Edison. He goes back up, and, Eddie Murphy, okay, now we're going to bring up, introduce me, Dean Edelson. So I go up, and they're looking at me, and I said, hey, how about a hand for Eddie? I'd like to thank Eddie Murphy for opening for me tonight. I think this kid's got a future. And I said, let's just put this in perspective, ladies and gentlemen. You just saw Eddie Murphy. Now you get a thin white Jew who you have no idea who he is. And they're laughing, and that's all. And I just had to follow this wave and had a great set and had fun.
That's funny. All right. Well, we got to run, but we appreciate y'all being with us. Remember, if you want to be remember, relationship-driven hookers win with direct mail. So if you're after a relationship, be a great hooker.
Oh, here it is. Instead, take out the word mail. Relationship hookers win with the right mail.
No. So, all right, everybody, we'll see you next time for the
All right.
Dean and Jim, the Gene and Dim show.
There
So
you
we'll
go.
see y'all next time. Bye bye, everybody.